Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries with Tanya E. Hood. I am Tanya E. Hood, a wife, a mother, and an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, it simply means I've worn a lot of different hats in my life that have helped me develop a full range of strategies and actionable steps that I've used to help my clients make a strategic impact, both personally and professionally, to have better than what life has been giving them. Red Alert Diaries is based on the life lessons from my premier book, Red Alert. Is he the one, the pocket guy defining the love of your life? And if you read my book, you already know that I got married at 21. And after 11 years of marriage, I found myself going through a divorce, having to raise my two sons alone. To reset my life and survive my divorce, I took the time I needed to get to know me better, which opened me up to new love again. So now I'm in a new marriage to the love of my life and my best friend, which just proves there is life after divorce. On this podcast, we have conversations that's real talk, marriage, divorce, money, and legacy. And I want you to join me on the journey because today we have a special guest joining us. Hi, Bridget. How are you? Welcome. Glad that you are here.
Thank you for having me. Hey, lady, what's going
It
on?
is so good to have you. But wait. Before we get into it, because we're going to talk, I have got to introduce you to everybody. So, I have to really walk through this a little bit, y'all, because Bridget has an accolade of amazing things with her heart and passion for people. She has a call on her life. Bridget has over 30 years in business and administrative experience with both corporate and nonprofit entities. Her business, nonprofit, and project management experience is supported by academic success, in which she has a bachelor's of science degree in business administration, for which she focuses her study was project management. And she is also a certified and commissioned transformational coach. Bridget's first priority is the interest of her clients, providing capabilities, adaptability, and manageability. You all are in for a special treat. Bridget, tell us a little bit more about yourself so that they can get the chance to know you a little bit better.
Well. That's what I do every day to help the people. The core of it, I am just a down home country girl trying to make a difference in the kingdom and a difference in the earth. I am a mother. I have three adult children that range from 26 to 35. And I have four wonderful grandchildren. I have three granddaughters. They keep me busy when I allow them to. And I'm just one of those, like I said, I'm one of those practical kind of girls. I love basketball. I love to crochet. That's my mind relaxation time. I love to do the little things. No pets because I don't have time for no more children. So, I chilled on that. But I love to travel and I love people. I love people and I love meeting people. And not only that, I love helping people. So that's at the basis of who I am. I'm a servant and I enjoy serving.
Well, I'm thankful because the audience that we have here is always looking for one something. And so those that come on this podcast, and this is the same as what you all are used to getting, will get the support and some assistance along the way. So we have a little bit of an idea of what inspires you, but truly let us know, what is your inspiration that has caused you to be a servant leader?
Well, it's one of the things that I saw growing up. My father was a pastor. My mom was a first lady for years and years and years. And, serving people is what we did. We took people into our homes. We would cook for people. We took children in. We would, keep them and make sure they were fed and love on them. And I mean, our home was just always a home where everybody came, hung out. This is where they knew they could get a hot meal. It didn't matter. Our friends, and they talk about it still to this day, and they remember certain times when they would just show up and mom would like, come on, go over there and get you something to eat. And so that's who we were. We served. We were a people of community. That's who my dad was. I was raised in a small town there in West Memphis, Arkansas, and when I say everybody knew my dad and my mom. And so it was that kind of community and close knit that I grew up in. That's the environment I grew up in. And then, of course, church was like, that was like, the second home. And so that's just where we developed and we grew and we met people. Early on, I'm a psalmist, and so I was in community choirs. There wasn't one community choir that I was a part of that didn't have a meal at my parents' home, and so that's what we did. And so that's what I'm used to. So impacting people, and so I'm just encouraged, and what inspires me at this stage in life is being able to make a difference in the lives of those who are trying to take their lives to another level. And I always say a part of what I do every day is to help people to get from revelation to manifestation. And if you
Mm.
are able to articulate what it is that you do, then you should be able to demonstrate it, because that application is required. And then that'll help you to get to manifestation. So that's the thing that keeps me going every day. What I have the ability to do and what I have the opportunities to do, because I get to serve and I get to impact others every day.
And that leads me to this part because all of that magnificent stuff, is that what you're calling yourself as a transformational coach? Because that term is not something that everybody really has a clarity or understanding of. What does it mean to be a transformational coach? Can you give us some
Absolutely.
understanding about that?
Here's the thing. We've seen, coaching has really evolved in the latter years, especially since COVID. It's really heightened even more. But, coaching to some degree has been a lot of, and I hate to say it, but it's been a lot of hype. So you get a lot of surface information, but you don't get transformation, right? So once a person has gone through a coaching process, transformation doesn't necessarily take place. You get information, right? But you don't necessarily get transformation. And I think it's important that you get transformation, because when there is truly an impartation, transformation has to take place. And so what is so important for me when it comes to being a transformational coach is oftentimes the client will come, they have a vision, which is awesome, it's wonderful. But that vision oftentimes is not clear. When that vision becomes clear, which is a part of the transformation coaching, the clarity coaching that takes place, it gets that person to a point of clarity, whereas where they started is not where they end up. So that means the direction for which we go into to help them get to manifestation is different from where they started, because now they have a clearer perspective, they have a clearer focus, they have a path for which we can build a structure and strategies from. So that initial thought process of what the vision was about has been transformed. And so it's important that that clarity takes place. And so that's where this piece of transformation, and Romans 12:12 and 2 says, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So that's a lot of what the transformational coaching is about. It helps to renew the mind. It helps to guide persons into a direction that is more clearly focused and is more realistic to the purpose and the calling that God's placed on their life.
And that is something that sounds amazing, but I work with a lot of people that need a little more practicality. So,
Uh-huh.
can we break that down with one something? What is one something that someone can do? Because there's a commonality that you and I have. We walk through ways with helping our clients get some
Sure.
insight. You come
Sure.
at it a little bit different than I do, which a lot of people do as well. What
Absolutely.
is it that someone can do? Because coming off of the recesses of divorce, both of us had to
Hmm.
reset our mind. Both of us
Absolutely.
had to get a new direction to move so that we can be whole and healed. What one thing can you share that the audience can use today to give them the transformation about their mindset to move into a better direction?
Well, one of the things is knowing who you are. You got to know who you are and what you have to offer to what it is that you say your vision is. That's going to help you to renew your mind, because oftentimes we build out what it is that we want to do, where we are, based on what someone else is doing. You have to make sure that you take that self evaluation. So, taking the time to self evaluate is going to help you to renew how you're thinking about you and what it is that you're saying you want to do. And I can go down a whole lot of different roads with that part right there, because that's the key, and that is starting with yourself. And that leads me to and I'll share this quick piece. So there's a course that I have out right now that's called the use strategy, because you have to be prepared. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're preaching, teaching, doing hair. I don't care if you're baking cookies, freeze cups of candy apples. It doesn't matter. You have to have a perspective on how you're going to, number one, be available to do that. How are you going to be accountable to do it? Are you responsible enough to do it? Is there manageability and is there sustainability? If you don't have those areas in tune and in focus about you, it's going to be difficult for you to really get yourself on a path of clarity to even begin a process. So that helps you to renew here, because you've got to think those things through, and you have to, number one, you have to confront, okay, am I really ready to do this, and so it helps you to go down that path of actually renewing your mind. So that's a quick way, those areas, to just think about, okay, what kind of time do I have to, lend to this? So that's a quick little exercise that people can do, a self-evaluation. Are you available? Are you going to be accountable? Can you be responsible? Is it manageable? Can you sustain it?
That is really great because we share some of the beginning parts. Because in order for anybody to move from where they have been, you got to see yourself different and you help
Absolutely.
them get that insight. So, those of you
Yes.
that know how I work with, I'm talking about your strengths as a way of getting a different perspective. When I come
Sure.
from that, what is the piece that they have to pay attention to? Because there are a lot of people that hear the information.
Yeah.
You need to
So,
know who you are.
yeah.
But if you have been in a place where your voice has been silenced, if you have
Hmm.
been in an environment that has made you believe that who you are at the core of your being is
Yeah.
not enough, how
Hmm.
do you begin? Is there something that you can give them that can say, this is a starting point because I know where I am. I know where I want
Hmm.
to be. I want to be healed. I want to be whole because after my divorce, I found myself in the fetal position in the bathroom floor of my two-bedroom apartment because I could not figure out how to get that first start. I knew knowing who I was would be enough, but I was raised in an environment
Yeah.
where I acquiesced. I
Hmm.
gave up my throne and I silenced my
Hmm.
voice, and then I married a
Yeah.
man that strengthened that thought process, and I got
Hmm.
lost. What
Yeah.
can you share that they can get
You
to
know, one
start
of the things, yeah, one of the things that, from this perspective is that I say to clients all the time, whatever your initial vision was, you have to continue to see what you saw. And so when you get to these various places in life, you have to stop and ask your question, how do I see myself now? Do I still see what God showed me? Am I still the person that God told me that I was? What is it that he showed me for me? You have to keep your eyes on that, and you have to regain your focus, because situations in life will cause those things, cause that vision to get blurry. It'll cause it to have this, you'll be looking at your peripheral and you're not seeing clearly. And not only that, you're being distracted. You have to continue to see what you saw. And when you regain that focus, when you regain that focus, you can regain your footing on moving forward. And that helps you to then determine, how am I going to stand up straight, square my shoulders, and get myself back on track. Because if it was in you at one time before, it's still there. It's just lying dormant. And you have to wake it back up, and you have to put it into perspective. What is it that I have to do to get myself there? Because things are going to happen. Life's going to happen, because life's not a straight line. It's going to happen. It's going to throw you curveballs. It's going to take you around curves, roll you up mountains, take you down in some valleys. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you are still that person that God called and purpose and designed for the vision that he gave you for your life. And that's where you have to get back to. That's the focus you have to regain. And when you can do that, you can begin to manage that vision and take yourself forward.
I'm so glad you shared that because that just does a stirring for me. Now, let me pause because I recognize that a lot of you listening to this do not believe in the God that I serve. But as I've shared before, you have got to believe in a being greater than yourself to get that insight because the world has been telling us for years who we are not. And to
Hmm.
get a different perspective, like Bridget was sharing, you've got to get the vision of what it was. And for some, that means you may need to go back to your 8-year-old self. I know for me personally,
Hmm.
it was at 8 years old that I had the big
You're,
dream. I
yeah,
just knew I could conquer the world. I was that
yeah,
little girl that knew, oh, I got the answer to this. And if you just did it like this, it will work out okay. Somewhere
yeah,
in the seat of our soul is an 8-year-old still dreaming
yes,
big, still doing
absolutely.
magnificent things so that we can be
Yeah,
who we are. Thank you, Bridget, for sharing that
yes,
insight. I want to
yes,
pivot a little bit because you shared
sure.
one course, but as a transformational coach, there's something else that someone can do. Can you give us another step of how people can move into what happens? I figure out who I am, but it's still not working out because I went through this phase where I
Hmm.
recognized my natural, logical, analytical mind is who I was at the core of my being. I finally found my voice and began to say no to certain things in my life so I can create the space to keep my peace. Finding my peace, I hold on to that for dear life. But now what? I didn't
Yeah.
know what else. So, do you have a now what that people can
Yeah.
walk through?
So now that when you get to that place of determining, okay, this is where I need to focus. I've regained my focus. This is what I want to do. This is what I need to do. This is the vision I started with, and I want to maximize on where I am now. So I use what is called my 5T strategy model with clients. And it's practical in nature, but it's powerful in its delivery and its results. Because oftentimes, when you make it practical, in my experience, I feel like people are able to do it. And from the project management world, we talk about all the wonderful deliverables and risk managements and project schedules and cost analysis and cost estimations and all these other things. And we have all these different terminologies where the average person, they don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what all that is. But what you can do is you can take the time and you can talk it through. So you want to talk through what it is that you have a vision for, all the wonderful things you want to do. I mean, go to the moon and back with it. I mean, the big picture. I mean, the frame, what color you want the frame, what kind of car you want to drive around the frame. I mean, you talk it all out. And then from talking it out, you're going to document as you're talking, right? Because it's important that you write the vision down. Because if you don't write it down, it doesn't exist. So you're going to write this down and then you're going to take the time to task what you've talked out, right? So you've talked it through because that's important. And you want to bounce, you want to vet your vision. That's important. And this is all a part of managing the process. You want to vet it. So that means you want to take the time to talk it through. Then you want to assign yourself tasks. These are the things I need to do first. You can determine based on that vision what needs to happen first and what needs to happen in the middle and what needs to happen for you to get to the end. Then you want to time it. What kind of time? Because that's where you're going to be accountable to yourself so that you can be responsible for getting yourself to that point of clarity or to that point of manifestation. Then you want to track it. Oftentimes, we do stuff. God will give us things. We'll write them down. We'll never track it. We'll write in a journal. We'll never go back see if God gave it to us. Did He already fulfill that? Okay, well, I need to move on to something to ask for something else. He already did that. So we don't track it. So you have to track what it is that you're doing. And that in the project world is monitoring, right? Monitoring and controlling. Then you have to trace it, and here's the deal: you have to figure out whether or not these things are actually getting done. And so sometimes that's on you, sometimes that's on people that become your resources to help you get those things done. And so it's that 5T process. It's simple, it's simplistic in nature, but it is powerful in delivery and helping people to get to results. So that's a little quick flow. As a matter of fact, I have an ebook that is just recently out called the 5T strategy model. So you'll definitely want to go to my website and I'll tell you about that at the end and pick that up. But that's going to help you to get through that process. And I'm telling you, you will get results.
Well, let's pick that up right now. Tell us a little bit more about the ebook because haven't heard what you have given this one snippet of stuff. Oh, I
Yeah.
can imagine all of what else they're going to get. So talk about that ebook.
Yes, yes. So the 5T strategy model is a practical process that I use with every client, and I don't care what they're doing. And I always like to use my practical analogies because I grew up in a neighborhood where the lady across the street, I called her the candy lady. She did peanut butter chews, she did freeze cups, she did candy apples. So, but she had a process, right? You have to have a process. I don't care what you do. You have to have your process in place. But if and I found when it's practical, people can adapt to it better and they find themselves more readily available or availing themselves to participate in the process. So, like I said, that 5T strategy model is something that I use with every client. We start out with the talking it through. That's the coaching piece. So we talk through what it is that they feel they want to do. That helps me to get them to that place of transformation before we start assigning tasks. So that's number two. We talk through the tasks. So then I talk about how to assign those tasks from simplistic to more advanced to the persons that you're going to need to help you with those tasks, describing them the whole 9 yards. Then we have to have time durations because everything's not going to happen by osmosis. There has to be a time management tool and process in place to help you get to where you're trying to get to, right? So we talk about those durations. What durations are realistic? what your creative thinking has to do with that process. Then we move on to the tracking part. You got to keep up with what's happening. You got to follow up. I said, you have to have my cousins follow up and follow through. They have to be a part of it, because if you don't follow up and you don't follow through, then a lot of things don't happen, right? And then we go on to tracing it. So you got to trace it to make sure that all the things happen, and that you get to the point of this your implementation, executing and implementation. A lot of people do work, and they do a lot of articulation, no demonstration, so therefore there's no manifestation. So this has to occur if you're going to get to implementation, because a lot of people do a lot of work and they never implement. So that's a huge piece about the 5T strategy model and how it is effective in the small business owner, to the corporate leader who's trying to overhaul what they're doing, to the ministry leader who's trying to develop their ministry of health. You have to have a process. And if you talk it out, then you can trace it to execution.
All right, all right. And I'm glad that you shared that because the information I provide, I have people that go through the conversation from a personal and a professional perspective because we
Yeah,
sometimes forget and don't
true.
connect who we are. There are
Yeah,
elements that you need to have crossover because you can be
absolutely.
amazing in one area and you need to
Hmm.
bring that skill set into the other area so you can make your life the way you desire. I am so glad that we are having this conversation. I
Yeah.
want you to just give us one last something that the audience can take away and also let them know where they can reach out and get in touch with you because you have so much going on. And I'm glad that you shared with us this ebook. I'm gonna have to work on getting that one myself.
Well, bridgetmoody.com, really simple, just my name, bridgetmoody.com. You can go there. You can find out about e-courses. You can find out about who I am, what I offer. Of course, there's a store there. So I am a five-time author. So I've written several books. And so one of the books is Strategize, Organize, Maximize, another good tool for the beginner who's trying to figure out how to establish, because some people, if they have the right tool, they'll do the work themselves. So that's another resource that would be definitely a companion to the 5T strategy model ebook. I am here again. I love to do what I do. I love to impact people. I'm a speaker. I've been speaking for many years. And so I do volunteer, I do training. I love to work with volunteers. And this is one of the things that I say about that area. You know, and people have often asked, how do you get 400, 500 people to do what you want them to do? And they volunteer and you're not paying them. It's all about relationship and how you treat people. And I've done it for years, and I've done it in various aspects. And it's, one of the quick stories I'll tell, when I first started my consulting business, it was the first opportunity I had as a relationship, a friendship that I had developed with a young lady who helped me with my first book. And she called me and said, I need your help. But they had an event that was coming up within less than 6 months of the phone call that I received. And most events, you need 9 to 12 months to even start the planning process. And so it was less than 6 months. And I was like, well, when is this event taking place? They were calling me in March. The event was taking place in July. I was like, oh, Jesus. And so they told me about these four major events. So they had two receptions, one with 250 plus people, one with 500 plus people. Then they had this major commemorative full color commemorative book that they needed to be done, and then they needed the entire event to be managed and set up and get talent and this whole nine. And so this was all before Zoom. This was all we had was freeconferencecall.com, so, and emails. And so, having to, and so that's when and that's why I said you have to look into yourself, because that's when God has gifted you for a particular thing. And when you ride in that lane, you won't ever have a wreck. You won't ever have an accident because you're in the lane you're supposed to be in. And so when God graced me to be able to pull 400 plus volunteers together, and all four of those projects were done in time and on budget in less than 6 months, I was like, okay, God, I hear you. I see what I'm supposed to be doing. And so, I talk a lot about that throughout my process of helping clients and even in my writings, because I think it's important that you tap in to what it is that you do seamlessly with the least amount of effort. In your sleep, you can roll out of bed in your pajamas and you can roll with it, right? So that is important, and it's key, because when we compare ourselves to what other people are doing and we don't hone in on the gift that God's given us, we miss our opportunity to be great.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That is so true. And
Yes.
I appreciate you sharing that. So, you have all
Yes.
heard. some amazing information, make certain that you go to her website, bridgetmoody.com, see the various things for her and what's going on. And for those of you that have been watching this and getting this insight, here's the one thing we want you to know. Bear in mind that your beginning step to getting your transformation is knowing who you are at the core of your being. You've been given some insight about the next step so that you can be accountable to yourself to move into the direction where you desire to get the help that you need. And it may require you to ask for someone to support you. And now you know Bridget will be a person that you can tap into. And so for today, I appreciate you being here. You can go to my website, tanyaehood.com, if you feel you need to have additional help to have someone join you on the journey. And if you're on Instagram, we go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I encourage you to join the conversation. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same. And when the waves are taking you